What's up, guys? So I've got a special episode for you today with a very special guest, my dad, who is a super cool human and does things that you would not think are possible at the almost age of 70. He's 69 right now and will be 70 in April. So both my dad and I have been on a sort of health journey, you could say, for probably the last decade, I would say. Pretty much when I was 15 and he was 59. We went to the regular sort of Western doctors, and while I'm sure there's lots of good ones, we just unfortunately didn't come across them, and a lot of the things that were recommended to us really either didn't work or that we didn't want to take because we don't really believe in taking a whole bunch of pharmaceuticals without actually getting to the root cause of why something is happening. And so I really do think it's amazing that, lots of people say that, when you get older, your body is just going to deteriorate, your 20s or your 30s are the prime of your life. But here we have a living example that proves otherwise, that at almost 70, you feel like you're actually in better shape than you were at, let's say, 50, right?
35 or 40, more like it.
Yeah. So when would you say you kind of started getting interested in like healthy eating and like alternative sort of health practices?
Probably back in 1992, I started changing.
And so what kind of like made you want to, look outside the box?
Well, I had a pain in my right side for more than 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctors could not tell me what was causing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a naturopath, did the colon cleanse, pain gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did the juicing.
What kind of juicing did you do?
I did mainly because I went to the doctor. I had a bad back for more than 20 years. And he said I had 2 discs that were degenerative. He wanted to get me pills for arthritis.
And you would be on those pills for your whole life,
yes.
Right? It wasn't gonna go away. You just had to take these fucking pills all the time.
So I read up juicing carrot and celery juice.
Yeah.
Something in the celery that moved the calcium deposit in your joints. Also exercise to strengthen your core. I've been fine.
And so when you were juicing, like, how many times would you juice a day? Because, like, if you're just doing it for health benefits, you could probably maybe do it, like, every, like, second day or, like, once a day and get some benefits. But because you were trying to, like, treat an issue, you did it a lot, right?
I did that carrot celery juice 3 times a day.
And how many, like, carrots and how many celery sticks would you use every time?
It'd be 1 celery stick and probably maybe 4 or 5 carrots.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And like what's interesting too is, people always say, to be healthy is like so expensive, but it's like, you're paying in other ways to be unhealthy, whether it's paying for your medication, and even if you have like, a plan that, covers that cost or whatever, you're paying in quality of life. You're paying by the limitations of things that you can't do. Do you really want to save some money so you just feel like shit longer? Like, you have to look in the way of things costing in the quality of your life as well. Yeah, you kind of did that on your own, and then I think it was probably when I was 12 or 13 that I too had like some health issues that I wasn't happy with, that were mainly like digestive sort of issues, and I think you were having some issues with your digestion as well, and you actually found out that like dairy was a really, really big trigger of that, right?
Yeah, and especially milk.
Yeah.
So I stopped drinking milk, and that solved that problem.
Yeah, just like that, right?
Just like that,
Yeah.
overnight.
Yeah. So yeah, you started cutting out dairy probably about 10 years ago, but we were still eating meat at the time, and you were butchering your own animals, right?
Right.
Yeah, so like that meat didn't have any like growth hormones or anything like that in it, right?
Yeah, and it was more grass-fed and more healthy meat.
Yeah. So at the time, because, that's just the information we had, like, we thought we were, doing the healthy thing, we were doing the more humane thing and stuff like that. So that was just obviously our train of thinking then. I don't think either of us even heard what a vegan was, right? Like, we had never
heard of that.
what the heck that is, and the concept of like not eating meat wasn't even something that like crossed our minds, right?
Right.
Then I think 7 years ago or so was when we first started to see this. We don't know what to call him because like he's not a naturopath, and he does have like some techniques that like are Chinese medicine, but then he also had this like really weird like energy sort of technique of like mapping out what's wrong with you. Like he would literally just like tap on our shoulders and he would tell us what kind of imbalances our bodies had. And for sure it sounds like some kind of quack doctor, but it's like, how did he know like that these were issues that we were dealing with when we didn't, you know, even tell him? Like
The first thing he said to me, I should not drink milk.
Yeah.
But already figured that out on my own.
yeah,
And the next thing he said, I had fluid on my lungs. And I knew I had that because when I was doing runs and overexerted myself, I'd cough up a lot of phlegm.
so much.
And after he gave me the herbs and stuff like that, I had twice the lung capacity
Yeah.
and I could do the runs so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when like you and I even went on like that bike ride in Little Bear Lake, and I remember like a few years before, like we would have to stop like every 5 to 10 minutes because like you couldn't catch your breath. It was just like, it was like you were almost having an asthma attack. And I think when we actually went to a Western medicine doctor, she said that you had exercise-induced asthma, right? And she gave you a puffer.
Yeah, she said try the puffers out with this. I tried, they didn't really work that well.
It wasn't really anything crazy. Like whenever he, you know, recommended any kind of like herbs for us, like we of course, you know, would do our own research of what these things were supposed to do and like, you know, proper dosages and stuff like that. Like we did do our own research as well. But yeah, I think over a period of maybe like 6 months, like both of us started to feel like a lot better.
I think it was a lot less than 6 months
Yeah.
that I felt really good. Well, also for years and years, restless legs.
Yeah.
On an airplane, trying to sleep at night, legs just had to move all the time.
Yeah.
Cold hands and feet.
Yeah, so circulation.
Some numbness in my fingers
That's
when
what
I
it
was driving.
Yeah. And you were just generally, I think, a lot more tired then.
Yeah,
as well.
yawning a lot when I was driving. I was yawning
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. It just always, you know, you didn't feel great.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I didn't feel great.
Yeah. And so what, around like, you know, you're nearing up to 60, did you think like, oh, you know, the days are gone where I can do all these crazy things, I better slow it down, I better get ready for retirement home?
No, I didn't think that at all.
Well, that's good. Then we did, you know, still have like, you know, a few issues still going on that we wanted to fix because, you know, we're perfectionists and want to feel amazing. So yeah, for your cold hands and feet and your restless legs, I think the thing that really turned it around was when we went to an acupuncturist, right?
I went to an acupuncturist and that
Well-
cured that a lot.
Well, it was like the first time you even like felt a crazy difference as she was doing the treatment,
Well,
right?
yeah, right within 10 minutes.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy, you know, to think that, you know, just sticking pins in particular places in your body, if the person obviously knows what they're doing and, you know, is very accurate with their diagnosis, that they are able to almost like, I don't know, unblock the channels. So they say that, you know, go on in our bodies and, you know, let specific, you know, energy flow freely, which makes sense when you have, you know, circulation issues. And then both of us, it probably helped me a lot more than it helped you, just because I suffered with a lot of like upper body tension and like had a bit of a curve in my back. So I went to see a chiropractor for like pretty much a year straight, and it really helped me. But you went to see one as well, and like while you know, didn't go to one for long, you did notice a difference like in your back since you had injured it a bit when you were younger, right?
Yeah, and he gave me specific exercises to do to help with my back.
I think that's one thing that like people don't always, you know, take for themselves. It's like even if you go to these experts, you know, that are trying to help you, whether it's like with supplements or with exercises, whatever it is, yes, you go to see them and yes, they can give you good treatments and results, but it's like at the end of the day, you have to take it on yourself to continue those practices at home, right?
Right.
Like you have to continue to eat healthy, and you know only you can do that, and you have to exercise, and you know you have to have, you know, a healthy mindset, and you know keep yourself healthy emotionally. Like that's all on you. Like you can't expect to go to some kind of expert and for them to solve your problems. Do you have anything to say about that? And so nearing up to the last, well, I guess it's about 5 to 6 years or so, I think is when we actually saw some like really dramatic changes. Maybe it just seems more dramatic because, you know, it's more recent and stuff like that, but it really, I guess, was a progression over the last 10 years where it's like we would feel like, wow, this is like such a huge difference as soon as we would go to like, you know, the people we just mentioned, but it's like, I guess when you were really sick, you don't really remember what it feels like to feel really, really good. So a big change for both of us really happened when we went to see a certified naturopath who also had some training as a regular like Western doctor, but he just chose to be a naturopath instead, who did live blood analysis. It was like a whole process in and of itself. Like I think both of our first visits with him, I think like took like 2.5 hours, right?
Right.
Like he really covered all the bases. He like magnified your blood as soon as he like, you know, took it from you and like showed you on the screen, on the
Well,
circuit.
it was all linked up. The
Yeah.
blood, the red blood cells weren't nice round. They were clustered together.
Yeah.
And in between was full of parasites.
Yeah, I had parasites too.
And yeast,
Yeah.
high in yeast.
But like the results of that were just absolutely like mind-blowing. Like what did you notice first?
Oh, just how I felt.
Yeah.
And my energy.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Even after that, like we did a whole bunch of like, you know, really physical trips. Like we did cycling in Jordan. We cycled like 50 kilometers in one day, and like that was really tough. In New Zealand we went cycling as well, and I mean now in the last few years we started out like running 10Ks and then worked our way up to half marathons, and now we're working on full marathons. And the one thing that you do every single year that I haven't done yet, and it's super hardcore, you do like a half marathon through the mountains, right?
Yes, Emperor's Challenge at Tumbler Ridge, BC.
Yeah, and so like that's like uneven terrain, that's, you know, like different elevations going on, right?
Yes, and it's just when the sky is clear, amazing view when you're up on top.
Yeah.
And I'm hooked on it, and I'll do it every year.
Yeah. So it's like for you to be able to do that at like almost 70 years old, and you know, you're passing people who are like my age, you know, like that's pretty fucking awesome. Yeah, so it's like when you're actually getting your blood analysis from a Western doctor, because they use this sort of like dinosaur system of, you know, looking in your blood, it's like unless there's really a serious like you're about to die kind of problem, it's like they're probably going to tell you that you're fine. Because
well, they only test for certain things.
Yeah, and they only test for certain things. So yeah, I think once we got the live blood analysis done and really like saw for ourselves like what is going on in our blood and like what needs to be done, and you know, taking supplements that, you know, target those things specifically. It's like we weren't just taking some kind of multivitamin, this sort of like blanket sort of thing.
And as far as the cost, you think like $1,000 for 3 months? That's $300 or so a month. Somebody that smokes spends way more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like...
you can't use that as an excuse it costs too much.
Exactly.
Because we all had other habits that cost us more in a month than that did.
So it's like, what do you want to spend your money on? Feeling better and being able to do more things, or having some kind of piece of junk sitting in your house, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, like, I got lucky with you. You've never really, like, smoked or drank.
No, never smoked or drank.
Yeah, so that's another good tip right there. The last sort of thing that both of us kind of decided to do and that has changed our lives a lot is pretty much, I guess, in this past year is when we really started to put it into action, which is veganism. What kind of made sense to you about veganism? Like, why was it something that you decided to do?
It's just they say animal and dairy products are not really that healthy for you.
Yeah, they create inflammation in the body.
And when you cut it out, you do notice a big difference.
Yeah.
It's quite noticeable. Start the lentil burgers, the black bean, chickpeas.
Yeah.
You get all your protein. It looks like a hamburger.
Yeah.
And
tastes even better.
Tastes better.
Yeah.
It's easier to digest.
Yes.
Like everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like meat, like it's harder to digest and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And the cost of a lentil burger is far less.
I get tired of almost trying to like prove that, you know, veganism, you know, all the things that they say about it being negative are just not true. I just get tired of having that conversation. But it's like the one that makes no sense whatsoever is like when they say it's more expensive. It's like, do you have any idea like how much meat costs? Like, that is ridiculous. Pretty much recreate like all your favorite meals, but just make them, you know, into a vegan version. It's like, just in Saskatoon this past week, we went to like some really great, you know, new restaurants that they opened up, and there's like some really super delicious, you know, new restaurants opening up with like meals that you'd find in any regular restaurant, but just like a vegan version of it. Like, probably one of the first things that you and I kind of changed on our journey is we really started to eat a lot more organic food, right?
I know in Jordan at the hotel where we're staying, they had a fantastic buffet there. And the strawberries, everything tastes so good because they had no chemical on it.
Well, it's like, and you know, I guess we didn't mention in the beginning, but it's like pretty much your whole life you've been a farmer, right?
Yeah, I've been a farmer all my life.
Yeah, and a cattle rancher too. So it's like when he's talking about, you know, choosing organic and choosing like veganism, it's like he knows what is going into those crops, like what they're sprayed with, right?
Yeah, and I never used a lot of the stuff that the majority farmers did, but I know how much stuff is sprayed on all the crops, and then we're eating that end product.
Kind of the same thing with like the meat and dairy industry. It's like, you know, we already kind of spoke about like the health benefits of veganism, and obviously the whole environmental factor is a whole other story, but also with you yourself having, you know, raised cattle, then the ethical part comes in. It's like you really love animals and you care about them. And, you know, when you were raising them, it's like, you know, you're sending these animals off when you sell them to be slaughtered,
well,
right?
yes, you do, yes.
Yeah. So in that way, it's like, when do you start asking yourself the question of like, why do we eat meat? Why do we kill animals? Do we have to? Is that really like necessary in this day and age when it's like we're not hunting anymore for our food? Like, we can go to the superstore, we can buy whatever we need. Why the hell are we, you know, killing innocent lives?
You have dogs and cats for pets.
Yeah.
You don't eat them.
Yeah.
But you think it's okay to eat cows and chickens and pigs and fish and all the other.
Yeah, they're beautiful animals who, you know, have emotions and who just want to have a happy, free life. You know, stop being an asshole and killing them.
Yes.
So to wrap things up, I'll ask you one more question. What are your goals for the next decade? So when you're 79, what would you have liked to have worked on in the next 10 years?
Well, keep being healthy.
Yeah.
Get even better in shape.
Yeah.
Doing the full marathon here.
Yeah, definitely.
Be positive in life and not be negative. Your mental being is as important as your physical being.
Absolutely. And it's like, and to be grateful for everything we have, right? And make the most of it.
Yeah, and make the most of it. And if something negative happens, you just deal with it and move on.
And learn something from it,
yes.
right? It's like, don't let negative things just like, you know, ignore them, let them go away. It's like, take something from it, learn something from it, you know, use it. It's not always necessarily negative. It's just the way you're perceiving it. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it because, you know, we're all getting older, we're all gonna die, but at least we can make the time up until then a whole lot more fun and make ourselves, you know, feel better better and, you know, create deep and meaningful connections with everyone we come across. So yeah, let's just take responsibility for our lives, make the best of things, and kick some ass.
That's right.
We'll kick some ass.
Yeah.
So yeah, until I see you guys next time, I hope you're having a great day, keep being your own kind of beautiful, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.
Bye.